guys, this is Richard Chu, Chu's Views. Of course, Karen, Byrne, and I are keeping the mood going. And, a lot of times the good stuff happens when you're not live on the air. As much as Karen and I want to curse profusely, we'll keep it clean.
You can save that for the podcast.
That's right.
Right.
But what we were saying a few moments ago as we wrapped up the show is the conversation about how many people have been pointing fingers and saying that the Dems should do this and the Dems should do that is really misguided and misdirected and a waste of time, because ultimately there are people who we know that said and have been saying for years, we know better, we're smarter, we get this, that we know or high probability voted for Donald Trump in this election. Yeah. And we have to be guarded from those folks. As part of our healing, we have to make sure we identify who they are and that we point out that that's unacceptable as we go forward. And, we have to cut some people loose, and that's what we have to do.
Yeah, unfortunately. I was just sharing with you, Richard, that back in 2016 on Facebook, I immediately put out a post that said, if you voted for this man, you need to unfriend me right now, because you're not going to like what I have to say over the next 4 years. And I'm not going to sit there and let you, dump all over my feed either.
Yeah.
We heard him say the things he said about women. And we don't have to repeat it. We all know. We heard what he said about Mexicans. We know that he discriminated against black people when he was in real estate in New York with his daddy.
Yep.
Okay. We know all of this.
Yep.
We knew this then, and we definitely know it now. I mean, this man has a record. And so if you voted in 2016 and then you realized who he was, and then, maybe you weren't aware who he was, I'll give you a little bit of a pass. But honestly, even with that, I don't understand how these people heard what he said. Okay.
And so to take that to where we are now, there's a responsibility that we all have to get to what's really truthful and what's really accurate. Yeah. And how can you legitimately say that you voted for, the economy if you're looking at the data? You're lying to yourself.
Exactly right.
Because you can't look at the data objectively or subjectively and go, wow, things have moved forward and things have gotten better. And if you want to talk about inflation and say, oh, inflation's high, milk's too high, bread's too high, then you have to look at, again, when did it in recent times start?
Exactly.
And the guy you're going to give the baton to and say, hey, yeah, you can fix all of this, he failed miserably in those areas that you say you're voting for.
Well, and the thing, we all know what's going to happen. He's going to come in and he's going to brag about his economy. All of a sudden, it's just magically, as soon as he steps into the Oval Office, now it's better. What about Fox Business? They always love to, pin the stock market on the president, except for when it's a Democrat.
Right.
Okay. So, so what happened with the stock market the other day? Oh, that's because Donald Trump was elected. Yeah. It's such BS.
It's such BS. And the thing about that always burns my biscuit is you see, if you take the time and watch a CNBC or Fox Business or any of the other shows, Bloomberg News, inevitably, and Michael Bloomberg is less involved in the day-to-day operations of what's going on with Bloomberg News on air, but inevitably, they have these pundits on that talk about how the Democrats are screwing up the economy, but at the same time, right behind them are these monitors and chyrons showing the market's up.
Yeah.
But they then try to conflate economy with market, and they're separate. They just are. The one thing that I said earlier is that you're going to your point, Karen, you're going to see Trump want to take credit for the where we are with the southern border, because if Congress votes again to do the right thing, he'll sign it more than likely, because it'll be his ability to say, we fixed the border.
Look what I did.
But in actuality, that's not what you did. You blocked it.
That's right.
And people were stupid enough to fall for it.
That's right.
On the economy and the markets and inflation, to your point, inflation numbers have been going down. They're going to continue that hopefully over the next couple of months. But as soon as he's in office, he'll say, look at inflation. I brought it down. Just the mere fact that I'm here is why inflation's down. Well, if it further goes down, a lot of that's because right-wing white male business owners who head big corporations that provide us with staple items in the grocery stores, i.e. Kroger, are going to then start to suppress their prices.
Yeah.
Why? Because it favors them to then have the white dude in the White House.
That's right.
That they can say, see, we are better at this than you are. But you got caught saying in testimony that you had prices artificially jacked up.
Right. But, of course, I mean, they know, the right-wing media, they know that it is not, their audience and Republican voters do not vote on the issues. They don't vote on policy. Anytime you ask them why they were going to vote for Trump, it was, I like his policies. But yet they could not name one policy, right?
And on those few occasions where someone said, well, the tax bill of 2017, when you go back and peel it apart and say, well, how did it directly impact your pocketbook? They can't even answer that.
I had a friend back then, Richard, that said, like, well, I got $43 extra in my paycheck. And I go, ooh. What are you going to do with all that money? I'm like, because guess what's going to happen? That's going to sunset. Meanwhile, we gave trillions away to the multimillionaires and billionaires, right? And the multinational corporations, and they don't have to pay any taxes on anything, right? So it's like some of them are paying $0. And that doesn't go away.
Nope. And so that's where there's candidly, and if you take offense, to this people, then that's your own business. But there's a lot of people in America who are stupid. Yeah. And I don't mean they're not educated, but they're stupid.
They're ignorant.
And they're ignorant. Yes. Even maybe an additional word to add to that. And that level of lack of research, lack of investigation, lack of getting accurate information is one of the other things that drove this election with regard to Trump. There are people who are lazy enough to not do the work. They just believe what they're hearing. And what, Tom Hartman talks about this a lot on Fox, frankly, and the slights that come from CNN. And every now and again, a Katie Tur or a Andrea Mitchell.
Bye-bye, girl.
On MSNBC, exactly. That speak things that are stupid. And people buy into it. They just drink it up.
Well, and again, and I keep talking about social media, but social media also plays such a huge role. I mean, I had, some right-wing coworkers that literally because of, the things that they click on, right, and the algorithms, they get all this stuff just dumped, you know, and they swallow it whole. There's nothing sourced. There are things that just pop into their feed unsourced, right? And they just like, look, see, this is...
I saw it on social media.
I saw it on social media. So this one guy that I worked with, he shows me this post about how in California they passed an ordinance where judges are going to let pedophiles not have to register on the national sex offenders list, right? So I was like, what? I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Okay, but unsourced, totally unsourced, just some Yahoo posting it on there, and he's like, read, share, whatever, like and share. And so I looked it up. And I said, this is what it is. Yeah. What it is when there's like maybe an 18, or a 19-year-old young man and he's dating a 17-year-old girl and her parents don't like the fact that they're sleeping together or whatever and they call rape. It's for those situations so that the judges can use their discretion.
Right.
To say, you know what,
it's not a sex offender. This is just young folks getting together,
getting busy.
And it hasn't, and that's been going on since when? The beginning of time. The
beginning of time, exactly right. And of course, on Epstein Island, just point of order. In Trump Tower, okay, Mar-a-Lago, right?
Guys, listen. Sometimes we can yell into our own echo chamber. Frankly, we can, but our goal has always been is to make sure that we're putting out the things that are in that echo chamber so that you stop and think.
Right.
And that's the message, that's the attempt that progressives have been trying to do really in this last 9 years of Trump. And I think that we have to continue to do that because to stop talking about those specific things and how social media impacts those conversations would be irresponsible on our part. And as we go forward now, I think one of the things that we definitely have to do is to be even more vigilant about calling out the BS that's on social media.
That's right.
Because if we don't, I think that more and more people are going to continue to go down those crazy rabbit holes.
Sure, because they really want to be lied to. That's the bottom line. Because as long as whatever that narrative is, it ties into what their worldview is, and I'm just going to confirmation bias. It is misogyny and it's racism, and I don't care what anybody says. That is what it is, and it's not the economy. It's not that you're having to pay $1 more for eggs, okay? But you have enough money to buy sneakers, $400 sneakers, or go,
Karen
donate
for the win, because that's exactly right. The same people in many, 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 many cases across the country, and most certainly in red states and red areas, who complain about. And I'll give you an example. I went to a Walmart in southwestern Michigan a couple of weeks ago because I had to get something. Then I was like, I know Walmart will have it. I got to go get it. End of story. So went into the Walmart. But this is the observation I make any place I go is what vehicles are in the parking lot. What's. And what I saw in the parking lot were a lot of big A trucks that in some cases have been additionally tricked out. So that decreases their gas efficiency.
Right.
But they're whining about the price of the milk that they were going to go into Walmart and buy.
That's right.
But they're okay with spending $1.25 to fill up their gas tank of that vehicle that's highly inefficient.
Right.
And these are not guys that use that vehicle necessarily for their work in the trades. I'm really literal with stuff like this, and I know you know this. But these are guys who just like to drive around in their big A truck that are 5'2".
You know why?
And no disrespect to someone that's 5'2". Yeah. So to that end, it's like. But you're the ones that are whining, and then I put it into the laps of other people whining about the cost of milk. But you just spent all this money on things that don't and maybe shouldn't matter as much. Right. And I'm not trying to tell people how to live their lives, but I'm just saying that's a reality that this dumb A's don't get.
Right. But that's the whole thing. We're not telling people how to live their lives, okay? We're not, and we're certainly not legislating it, I mean, and if we're, doing something to, protect people, environmental protections and regulations, it is to protect people. When we're saying government doesn't have a place in healthcare, and telling women that they cannot have access, legal, safe access to reproductive care. And by the way,
and it's not just abortions, it's reproductive care.
Thank you. And Anita talks about this all the time down in Texas. It's been going on for what, 2 years, right? They've been doing their level best, and it doesn't matter. And what she says all the time is exceptions give away the game. It is not pro-life. This is not about pro-life. Being pro-life, this is about controlling women. And the reality of the situation is, in an emergency situation, I don't care if they say, in the situation where it's for saving the life of the mother. What you're saying, though, is you're putting it out there to healthcare providers that they could face 99 years in prison. Okay. And what do all of these providers have? They're a part of a health system organization that has a bunch of attorneys and risk management. Right. And they're saying, look, it's not worth it. It doesn't matter that exemption is in place. You cannot do anything because we will get sued or we could face criminal prosecution for it.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line, and that's what people need to understand, and they've been able to successfully push that though, and that's when we talk about the women in the red states that voted for abortion access but voted for Donald Trump, not understanding that with Project 2025 and the Comstock Act, it's going to be, it doesn't matter that it's going to be codified into law, into your state constitution.
No, because you voted for the dude that wants to take it away nationally. And
that's right. And he doesn't need Congress.
No. And even though he didn't admit it, because he wouldn't admit it because he lies all the time, that's where that's where it's headed. Yeah. So, it's bracing time, but it's also, we cannot not call out the fact that there's so many people that have been hoodwinked and wanted it this way.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it. Karen, good conversation as always.
Yeah.
let's get about our day. So
we'll keep it going. Keep it going. We got to keep talking.
That's right, guys. All right. Wrapping it up.
Thanks, Richard.
You're welcome.
All
My
right.
pleasure.
Thanks, Alex.